Hey guys, thanks for joining me for an episode of Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today we're going to take a look at Spoils of War. This is a brand new game from Arcane Wonders. It is a 3 to 5 player game unless you choose to buy a second box, in which case you can move it all the way up to 10 players. The standard game takes roughly a half an hour to 45 minutes to play, and it is a competitive game, so each player is working against the other players to have the most points at the end of the game. So the backstory to this is that you're all playing different Vikings and you've just come back from a successful raid on a village or town or whatever, and you've piled up all these spoils on the table. And now you're starting to argue and discuss and fist pound and everything else to determine who will get these spoils. And the Vikings over the ages have devised this system to determine who will take these spoils, which is the Spoils of War. So the players are going to compete with each other, and in the game itself, each player is going to roll a couple of dice that they have. And they will be able to look at that cup or underneath the cup to see what kind of dice that they have rolled. And these are all D6 dice, so 6-sided dice. And the Viking chief will choose a player to make the first declaration, or he can choose himself. At that point, the player is going to name a value and a quantity on the dice. So for example, he could say that there are 4 fours, believing that there are at least 4 dice underneath all the players' cups cumulatively that have the value of a 4 on them. From there, then the next player can either up that declaration either by the number on the dice or the quantity, or he can challenge that, believing that there are not that many dice underneath the cup. At that point, then the other players will make their bets and side with either the challenger or the declarer. And once that is all said and done, then the players will reveal the dice, and the side that is correct will be able to divide up the spoils, and the side that is incorrect, or the losing side, will not only get no spoils, but they will lose the gold that they wagered. From there, the game will go 9 rounds, and there are 3 separate treasure decks that will increase in value as the game goes on. At the end of the 9th round, the players will total up all their points that they have, including sets and collections that they've made, and the player that has the most points at the end will win. So my opinions of this game so far are very good. Arcane Wonders, I feel, really puts a lot of time and effort into each one of their games and makes sure that it is as good as possible before they roll it out. So I'm never worried about picking up an Arcane Wonder game because I know that it's going to be top quality. And this one is no exception to that. The artwork is fantastic. The layout of the game is great. Even the rule book, the way it's set up, there is not a lot of learning curve to this game. Even my parents were able to pick this one up very easily. It is very intuitive the way that they set it up, and everything is broken down very easily. I don't see a lot of drawbacks to this one. If you guys have ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean and you see the pirates chucking those dice and you're always kind of wondered what it would be like to play that kind of a game, check this one out because I got a feeling that it's very similar. As you know, I really enjoy dice chucking games, and this one has a lot of that. It has the dice chucking and the bartering and the deception and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. You don't know where players will team up and who is telling the truth and who is not. As each turn, the players are all going to cumulatively roll their block of dice that they have. They're going to secretly know what dice they have, but nobody else will. And you can be honest about the dice you have. You can't physically show them, but you can be honest, or you can lie about the dice you have. And I was excited to try this game. I found this one at Origins this year and was really excited to try it out and had a lot of fun with it. And so I'm bringing this game to you guys to let you guys see what it's all about. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. Like I said, I want to turn this more into a conversation. So have you guys seen this game? Have you had a chance to play it? Is this one the one that you're interested in checking out? Yes or no? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I've also got a new Facebook and Twitter account, so I'd love to see some support over there from you guys. And if you enjoy these videos also, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking these videos, as it will help me grow and bring new games to you guys. So let's head to the table and I'll teach you guys how to play. Also for this video, I'll be using the broken token insert, as you guys can see, and I will have a link down below for it. I would highly recommend picking it up if you like keeping your games organized and you like having inserts, as it is a very, very nicely made insert, which even includes a little treasure chest, as you guys will see in the video. And like I said, I will have a link down below for that as well if you guys would like to pick one up. I will also have a building video for you guys to check out if you do pick one of these up and you would like to know how to build one. I will have that as well in the links down below. There are 3 different treasure texts included in the game. Stages 1, 2, and 3, which we're going to see more during the treasure pile creation step of the setup. From here, then each deck is going to be broken down into 5 different items. We have artifacts, jewelry, dragon eggs, armor, and weapons. And each of those is color coordinated as well. So artifacts are always going to be purple, jewelry will be yellow, dragon eggs are going to be green, armor will be blue, and weapons are red. Each of these items is also going to have 4 different types of that item. So for example, with weapons, we will have a giant spear or a great spear. We have the broadsword, the longbow, and the battle axe. And that is going to come into play during the scoring step as players are trying to collect sets of all of the different items and not just a particular item of that set. Finally, the artifacts are the only set that does not have 4 different images. Each of those is going to be unique, and each artifact is going to be broken down, just like the other cards, with the name of the item. So this is an artifact, the specific name of that particular artifact, any special abilities that it has, whether it can be used one time or over multiple turns, and the gold that it is worth. And that goes the same for regular items. You have the name of the type of item that it is, the name of that particular item, if it has any special abilities, which your normal items will not, and the amount of gold that it'll be worth at the end of the game. Finally, on the back of the cards, you're also going to notice that the artifact cards will have the artifact symbol in the bottom corner, which is important when you're laying out your treasure, as you'll see in the game. For player setup, each player is going to receive a screen, which on the back of the screen will list the 7 steps of each round, as well as the way to gain additional gold points at the end for sets and the Conqueror's Hoard. So we're going to go ahead and play a 3-player game, so each player will receive a screen. Each player is also going to get a cup, a challenge declare token, and based on the number of players, which we're playing a 3-player game, so as you guys can see on the chart, each player will receive 10 dice. From here, then, you're going to go ahead and choose one player to be the Viking Chief, which you can do by either having players roll dice, the player that has the board game itself, or however you would like. So we're going to go ahead and give it to our player over here. Then you're going to choose one player to be the player that controls all the gold, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be using a broken token insert for this game, and this comes with a treasure chest that has all the gold. So the player that is controlling the gold will give each player 70 gold, with it including 3 10s, 7 5s, and 5 1s. Each player is going to put their gold behind their screen, and throughout the game they will not reveal the gold that they have behind their screen, as that will be totaled up at the ends and will be victory points for that player. Creating the treasure piles is going to be based on the number of players. So again, we're playing a 3-player game, so we're going to have 7 cards per pile. So we'll go ahead and start with stage 1. We're going to go ahead and shuffle these cards up and deal out 7 cards in 3 piles. Any cards you have left over can be returned to the box and will not be used this game. And then the rest of the piles can be placed across the top, or you can stack them however you want depending upon how much room you have for your game. So I'm just going to stack them up here in 3 different piles, and we'll do the same for piles 2 and 3. Now that we're done with that, we're ready to move into the game. Spoils of War is played over 9 rounds. During each round, the Vikings will roll their dice, make declarations about the dice rolls, place bets, then divide treasure based on how well they bet, and after 9 rounds, the Viking that has the most gold and treasure is going to be the winner of the game. Each round consists of 7 steps, which are done in order, as you guys can see here on the side of the screen. So we're going to go ahead and start with step 1, which is the treasure setup. So the Viking chief is going to go ahead and take the next treasure pile in order and place it out on the field for all players to see. And there's a way to do this. So each treasure that does not have a crystal ball in the corner will be placed face up. The crystal balls represent artifacts and are not revealed during the treasure setup step, so they will be placed face down. The second step is dice roll. So each of the Vikings is going to grab their cup of dice, give it a shake, and go ahead and roll the dice. They're not going to reveal these dice to any other Viking, but they can go ahead and look at the dice themselves to see what dice quantities they have. Step 3 is bidding. The Viking chief now chooses which Viking makes the opening bid. He may choose himself if he wishes. The chosen Viking makes the first bid by announcing a quantity of dice and the value of the dice that he believes are in play, counting all dice under all Vikings' cups. So our Viking chief is going to choose one of the Vikings, including himself, to make the opening bid. So he's going to give it to this player. That player is going to announce the dice value and the number of dice that he believes are under all cups. Now he can open up with a small bid or a large one, whichever he wants to do. So he could say that there are 2 4s amongst all the dice that are out here. Or he can list any number that he chooses and a value of the dice. From there, then it's going to move in clockwise order to the next player, who has a choice. He can either challenge the previous Viking, saying that he does not believe there are that number of dice under the player's cups, or he can make a higher bid. In order to do that, he must either list a higher quantity of dice or list the same number of dice but a higher value. So with our first player listing that he believes that there are 2 4s, our next player can either list that there are 2 5s or 6s, or a higher number of 4s, or a higher quantity of dice, and any value that he chooses. So with this guy saying that there are 2 4s, our Viking over here could say that there are 3 or higher number, and then he could choose 1, 2, 3, or 4 as his value, as the quantity of dice is higher than our previous player had bid. Now, the book also does a great job of giving some examples and references for that, as this is the most confusing step of the game that I found. From there, then, once the next player goes and challenges our player, so let's go ahead and say that our player over here was really risky, and he said that there are 8 4s. So our Viking chief does not believe that's the case, so he's going to challenge our previous player, who will now become the declaring player. So step 4 is placing bets. Once a challenge has been made, every Viking must secretly and simultaneously place a bet. Take your betting disc, which is the challenge declare, except for the player that challenged and the declarer. You're going to place it on the side that you wish to support, or the side you believe is correct. So our player over here is the only one that does not have a token out, so he will choose which side he believes is correct. And then the players are going to choose a value of gold that they wish to bet as well. And it must be a minimum bet of 5 gold. And the players are betting gold to determine who the next Viking chief is on the winning side. So our Viking chief over here, and these players, you will keep these bets separate, or secret, so you can cover them with your hands. As I do not have 3 hands, I'm just going to put them out so you guys can see how this works. So our Viking chief believes that he is pretty much correct, so he's going to bet 20 gold. And again, this is all kept secret and hidden from the other players until revealed. Our player over here believes that the Viking chief is correct, so he is going to place his token on the challenge side, and he's not sure how he feels about it, so he's just going to go with a 6 gold bet. And finally, the declarer feels pretty strong about it, so he is going to play 10 gold on his side, as he is pretty much sure that the other player is going against him as well. Now, one side note, if a Viking does not have any gold, as they've already spent all their golds from previous turns, they can still continue to play the game, and they can still continue to contribute by choosing which side they support. But if they are on the winning side, when it comes time to collecting treasure, they will always be the last player to collect treasure. So step 5 is revealing bets. All Vikings are going to simultaneously reveal their bets. So at that point, then all the players are going to simultaneously reveal their alliance or allegiance and the amount of gold that they've bet. Step 6 is the revealing dice step. So starting with the declare and going clockwise around the table, each player is going to reveal their dice and declare the number of dice that they have of the value. So our player over here has no 4s at all, so that's really not going to help his cause. And then going over to our next player, our player over here has 1 4, and our final player has 2 4s. So our player over here really extended himself by saying that there was 8 4s out there, and so he is going to be the losing player, as he has not had at least as many dice as his declaration, which would have needed to be at least 8 4s. So his side is going to lose, and the other sides will win. Step 7, which is the final step in the round, is dividing the spoils. So first, each Viking on the losing side must give up the gold on their betting disc. So our declaring player was the loser this time because we did not have enough 4s out there, so he's going to lose his gold. Then the winners on their discs are going to get to keep their gold, so they'll be able to bring that back behind their screen. And the Viking on the winning side that bet the most gold will be the new Viking chief, or will retain the Viking chief if he is the player that has the highest. So as our current Viking chief has bet 10 gold, he will be, or 20 golds, he will be the returning, or he will retain the Viking chief token, as our other player only bet 6. Now each Viking on the winning side gets to take treasures from the active treasure pile in order from highest to lowest bet. The Viking chief always picks first, followed by the next highest bidder, and if other Vikings are tied, the one closest to the new Viking chief in clockwise order will be able to pick first after the Viking chief. The Viking chief will get to pick 3 treasures from the treasure pile, and all other Vikings will get to choose 2 treasure cards. And you must always take the amount of treasure that is allotted to you. You can never choose not to take enough treasure cards equal to the number of treasures you should receive. The losing Vikings will not get to take any treasure. So starting with our Viking chief, we can go ahead and choose which cards we like. So we're going to go ahead and take the Great Spear. We will take a piece of jewelry, and we're going to go ahead and take an artifact. Each of these cards will be placed out in our stash, face up so the other players can see, except for the artifact cards, which are always kept face down unless they're required to be revealed based on the artifacts that you have, which will all be outlined in the special instructions on it. So our Viking chief is done, so it'll go to our next player who gets to choose his treasure. So he's going to go ahead and take a dragon egg, and he's going to take an artifact. And again, his treasure will be placed out as well. And then any cards that are left over will be discarded to a discard pile and kept face down, and none of the players are able to look at those unless a card that they have specifically states otherwise. Now, do not remove those from the game, as some of the artifacts will allow you later on to gain a card from the discard pile. At this point, the round is over, and so we are ready to start the next round. So again, it would start with step 1 and work our way through. And this will continue for 9 rounds until all the treasure piles are gone. At that point, we'll move into the scoring step. So after the 9th round is complete, all Vikings will get one final chance to reveal any of their artifacts and use their artifact abilities. All artifacts must be revealed at this time. If several Vikings want to reveal or use artifacts at the same time, they are resolved one by one, starting with the Viking chief and going around the table in clockwise order. Each Viking can use only one artifact at a time, continuing around the table until all Vikings have passed or have finished using all the artifacts they want to use. The Vikings reveal the remaining golds for all to see, and then the pursuer gives each Viking any bonus golds they've earned for any treasure sets they've collected from the treasury. From here, then, the players are going to add up all their gold coins that they have. They're going to add the gold values of all the treasures that they have in their stash, and the Viking with the highest total will be the winner for the game. So let's go ahead and look at an example of this. So I've gone ahead and given our player over here some more cards so that you guys can see how all this works. So the first thing is we're going to determine if we have any sets. So our player has 1 dragon egg, 1 weapon, 3 different jewelry pieces and the 4 different armor pieces and 2 artifacts. So on your card, it shows that for each set of 1 of each treasure type you have, you'll get 8 gold. So we have 1 artifact, 1 egg, 1 weapon, at least 1 armor, and at least 1 jewelry. So we will receive 8 gold for that. And you can use a card in multiple different sets. From here then, if we have any partial sets, then we can include that. So we just missed a partial set of jewelry, as we have 2 of the same type, so we would not get that. And you cannot count a partial set and a complete set as one, unfortunately. So then our complete sets of armor will get us 12 gold pieces. From there, then we're going to total up all of our gold. So we have a total of 30, 50, 55, 60, 63 gold. Then we're going to add up all the gold values on all of our cards. So we have 5 there, 8, 12, 18, 25, 30, 35, 41, 42, plus the 63. So we have 105 points. And then you would compare those with all the other players, and the player that has the most will be the overall winner of the game. Well, I hope you guys found that video helpful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer those. And if you enjoy these videos, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does help me grow and bring new and exciting games to you guys. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Is this the game that you're looking to pick up? Have you already picked it up? Is this one that you enjoy playing, or are there aspects to it that you don't care for? Or what other games does Arcane Wonders put out that you guys enjoy playing? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in those comments below. Also, I do have a Facebook and Twitter page now, and I'd love to hear you guys over there and let you guys know what's coming up and what I'm working on. So please join me over on those pages, and we'll continue the conversation. And as always, thanks so much for watching my videos. I do really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos and to leave me feedback and comments on them. And until next time, I will see you guys later.